Hi everyone, welcome to a new edition of the Queen's Court, live from the Palace.
Yes. Not Crystal Palace.
No, not Crystal Palace. We have a very special guest with us today from Southwest Wrestling and OCW, to name but a couple, and Attack and Chaos. And Dragon Pro.
Dragon
A whole
Pro.
host of
You nearly forgot Dragon Pro.
I know, it's terrible. It's been so long. By the one and only August Jackson.
Thank you for having me, guys. Absolute pleasure. An honour to be here.
Yeah. How has the lockdown and the pandemic affect you in terms of motivation?
Oh, it's really surreal. Nobody that we know of has ever been through anything like this in the past. So it almost kind of doesn't seem real until it is, if you know what I mean. So until you walk into the shops and you've got to put your mask on and you see everyone masked up, which would be, so heavily frowned upon a year ago. You walk into a shop with your mask up. Now it's the exact opposite. Yeah. So, it's just surreal. So it's hard a question to answer, really, because I think, in regards to training, the lockdown, I basically had to, and I think a lot of people have, you've had to kind of adapt and do stuff from home. As we're getting colder now, that's going to be difficult. I mean, the gyms have opened back up, but I mean, there's word that there might be another lockdown, and in some places there are lockdowns.
Where are you based?
In Wales. So I'm based just across the bridge from Wales, so we're very close.
So Bristol,
North
basically.
Bristol. Yeah, North Bristol.
Mm.
So we're okay at the moment, but they've all locked down. And a lot of my colleagues work across the bridge, so it's difficult. So I'm just kind of I've had a setup and I had a kind of plan, but as far as what I would do when I'm going out and about without the lockdown, it's completely changed. I mean, mentally, it's I think it's challenging for everyone, but I just kind of take each day as it goes, really.
Yeah, it's got to be difficult as well, because it's like you've mentioned, the lockdown is affecting so many different people in different ways. All the rules are so different depending on where you go. It's difficult even to just keep up with it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It very much is. I mean, through when we were all locked down where I am, and no gyms are open, no shops are open or anything, I basically had a kind of a set routine. So, and I think it was just about getting back into that routine. I think we've all to some degree got that level of a routine, and that's kind of what this whole thing did to everybody. It chucked the spanner in the works, and everybody's routine went out the window. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I fall out of that routine, I don't just kind of fall a little bit out. I go completely head over heels, and it's just oh, forget the routines. I don't need them in life. And then it's what's going on? And time goes really quickly. So once I kind of got a bit of a routine going, it wasn't so bad. I had my things set up outside, had my weights set up outside, and I could do my workout. And it wasn't anything close to what I was getting in the gym, or at least it didn't feel like it was, which I think is a big part of that. It was okay. But now, as we've started to hit winter, or it's just on the horizon, now it's going to be getting into a new routine. I think it should be having another lockdown where I am, which is, up in the air at the moment.
Well, I was here, and they said that Bristol might be going into another tier.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've heard. And recently, a lot of people I knew, when this whole thing started, had said, I think one of the big arguments was well, I don't know anybody who's had it. And now, especially over the last month or two, everybody I know knows somebody who's had it. And it's all getting closer to home. And I think it's because it's hard to comprehend just how many people there actually are. So, these numbers are staggering.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Because there's so many people. You say 1,000, 2,000, 10,000. It's hard to picture those things in your head. And then, so you see these numbers every day. You think, oh, well, it can't be as bad as they're saying. And then, oh, so-and-so has it. And, oh, so-and-so has it. And then before you know it, 200 turns into 2,000 turns into whatever. So, it's pretty.
I mean, I was thinking, it's quite crazy in a way, because it's I remember back in January, which feels like
back in the good old days.
If you remember,
the olden days
before the war,
we went to a show at Southwest Wrestling, and there were a lot of jokes about the whole situation because it wasn't really like real. And then it's like in a few weeks, that's changed completely, and we have the whole lockdown and everything. It's crazy how quickly it happens.
I mean, I don't know about you, August, but when they started cancelling shows and we went into lockdown, I never thought that come end of October, start of November, we'd still be missing shows and lockdown. I didn't think it'd be like that.
No, not at all. I thought this is going to be a 2-week thing, you know, because I've known people to kind of question it, and it's like for everything to get shut down, for businesses to get shut down, for so much, like for everyone, for so much money to be spent on things and lost on the lack of things, it's unheard of. You know, it's unheard of. Things, you know, the show must go on, as they say. Like so many times when I've been to shows and to events where very few people have turned up, but they go on because they think, well, we're going to do this. And for the most part, it takes a lot to stop things from opening. So when this hit, it was like, oh my God, this is completely unprecedented. It's mad. It's mad. Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? But my bank balance has never been so well off, actually, to be honest with you. Not having to travel to shows, and you know, the promoters must be missing all the fans' money, like, you know, especially that. But yeah, I've never been so well off.
Same, to be honest with you, same.
Yeah, but you know, I'd rather be a bit skinner and have a few shows to go to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. It's only money, you know what I mean? It's it comes and goes.
Yeah, it does indeed.
So, going back to the good old days of shows, we saw you have a really good match against Wild Boar at Chaos, and you got quite a good reception from the fans as well. So we were wondering if there were like the hopes or the plans for you to be involved in Chaos again.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Chaos is extremely close to home for me. That match especially. You know, they were one of the companies that were kind of happy to give me an opportunity. Yeah, it was. I remember that match, you know, vividly, because like before, sometimes parts of it were a blur because, you know, I was very, very. I wanted to do well, you know, and I wanted to show everybody something. And I think, you know, I beat myself up a lot, and there were things I think that I could have done and didn't, and the things I can look back on that match and kind of like wince at, like, oh man, I should have, you know, it didn't quite go as I wanted it to go. But man, like that was unbelievable. And I remember the reception. I remember somebody actually saying, coming back stage, like, you know, like, Jesus, like at one point, like the crowd, they were up, you know, and I knew they were, but when I watched the video back, I was like, Jesus, like, you know, I think like sometimes you kind of get zoned in, you know, because there's this point. I remember when I came out first, I was looking at everyone I saw, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. And then like near the end, you know, I lost, of course, but as we were building up to that end, I was so focused in. But yeah, great match, and yeah, I'd love to continue working with Chaos. Like they're, you know, the owners now connected with Dragon Pro. They've always, some of my best memories in wrestling are at a Chaos event. So yeah, in short, 100%. You know, and as soon as things start rolling again, I'll definitely be there if I can. You know,
because as soon as you came out, we popped, didn't we?
Yeah,
we popped when you came out, and as the match went on, there was more and more people getting behind you. Even though Paul was very popular, I think in the end you had more than half the crowd cheering for you.
Oh yeah, well, you know,
brilliant.
I think people like to see the underdog. I was definitely the underdog. Definitely the underdog.
But you put on such 100%. A good performance that day, you know.
Thank you. Yeah, that means a lot. Good memories, man.
Oh yeah. And just
the loss.
It's like with Chaos. It's one of the bigger ones, isn't it? But it's a bit under the internet fans' radar a bit, isn't it? You know,
yeah, it's like it's got like one of the things about Chaos is like they have a very loyal following, and Chaos will have things that each show is kind of affected by the last show, and things have like, you can see things building and you can see things happening, and the drama's there. So people understand that, and I've spoken to fans at the shows, and people say, yeah, we love to keep coming back because we want to know what so and so is going to do because of what happened last time. They're not just in a vacuum; they're part of a much bigger thing, much bigger story. And Chaos does that very, very well. And sometimes they're quite subtle with it, and sometimes it's in your face. But yeah, they do it very well, and they always have very good matches. Like,
They
very
do.
good matches.
I love Total Chaos as well. That show once a year when it's just everything's up in the air and anybody can face anybody, couldn't they?
Yeah,
That is such a good show.
I've got to love the Rumbles.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I loved
Fantastic.
that last Rumble.
Yeah. Chaos Rumble.
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. But you've also been in Attack quite a bit, haven't you, as well?
I had the honour of being one half the tag team champions for Attack.
Because you was part of a tag team champion as part of the ring crew, weren't you? And it was good seeing you go from like actual ring crew, as it were, to wrestling to being tag team champions. And that gimmick came over really well. You know, and the fans all got behind you, didn't they? And
yeah,
what came up with that gimmick?
So, do you know? I don't actually know. I don't know who came up with the initial thing, because it was all kind of circumstance. Like the ring crew being a much big, like a unit, we're kind of like the underground NWO, you know. But like the flip side, NWO, like the bizarro world of NWOs, and you know, there were points where we kind of were able to flex our muscle a little bit because the power of the people kind of deal. But I don't know who initially came up with it. Initially, we had it wasn't myself, and we had an injury on the team. And Clay McLeod, I believe, was the one. No. Clay got injured later on. Sid, I think he was injured initially, and I got a chance to step in to help. So it's me and Clay McLeod, and we managed to kind of politic our way in the story where there was going to be an event. There was going to be the ladder match that they had, and we were able to. We kind of came out. I don't know if you ever saw that show. It was the Halloween show they did, and they basically they came out and announced. Like Kid Lycos came out and announced. He's a GM at the time. We're going to have this ladder match. So me and Clay McLeod, we've come out and we're like, oh great, you know, thanks for having us. We're so happy you've given us this opportunity. Can't wait to be involved. And he's kind of shut us down. What are you doing here? Okay, fair enough. If you can beat the Greedy Souls, then you can get in. And of course, you know, no one thinks we're going to beat the Greedy Souls. Like, what chance do we stand? So they come in. Your best friend runs runs roughshod on me like no tomorrow. There's clips of it on my Instagram, and you find it on the Attack's page. And you know, man, when you watch that back and you see how many times I get flung across the ring, and yeah, we basically survived. We survived by the skin of our teeth, and it was only through old Danny Jones' cockiness and not actually pinning, not actually going for the pin on old Clay. Not me, because I wouldn't have lost. But no. Going on Clay, and he gets cocky, picks him up, and later on they go for their special, and you know, gets reversed. I keep hold of Bronco, and Clay rolls him up and gets the sweet victory. And from there, that kind of barreled. So I don't know who came up with the plan initially, but as he started to do little things like that and started to get a bit of traction, you could kind of see that it was kind of. I think people started to like it, like you say. People started to get behind it because we were the ultimate underdogs.
Yeah.
So
you seem to make a habit of playing the underdogs really well.
Yeah.
You know, you seem to revel in the role, don't you?
I do. I
think it's because you're quite you're a very likable guy. You know, you come in everywhere, you're smiling and chatting to everybody. You know, I think people can get behind that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is kind of one of the things. You know, there's times when I've played the bad guy, and the thing people always say, you need to stop smiling so much if you're going to be a nasty guy. You know, it's like I can't help it.
But we've been at Attack shows. We've been out in the street walking towards the show. We've seen you coming away once, and you stopped and was chatting away to us for ages. Like, you know, it's it was great.
Yeah,
that was in Cardiff.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
All part of the show. You know what I mean? It's like that's all part of the same show. You know, and yeah, I can't. I know it sounds cliche, but like I can't stress how much it means to me, and like I can't speak for anyone else, but you know, I'm sure share the same sentiment. You know, when you see people come to these shows, and Kirsty, you were saying that when we had the quiz about how far you were traveling to go up and see Defiant, and you know, it means as much to us as it means to you guys, and vice versa, and it's all, you know, it's all connected. So yeah, man, I love it. I love speaking to everybody at the shows.
Well, it makes all the difference to the fans when the fans come across, you could just have a chat with the wrestler, like, you know, and just off your own back, like, you know.
100%. You know, because it always means, it means a lot to know that people want to come and actually, you know, pick my brain. You know, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Because you don't get that in a lot of other sports and sort of entertainment like that. You don't get that much of a mix in football or cricket or even in the theatre or the arts. You know, you don't normally get to see your favourites.
No, you don't really get that level of interaction and connection.
No, you don't. No, I think, and again, it's because there's and I suppose, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, results in wrestling do matter, but at the same time, I don't think that's what people get behind people for as much as in sports. In sports, if a team is not getting results, then they're not going to be around forever. And don't get me wrong, if a wrestler never gets a win, then they may not be around. But I can name a handful of wrestlers that have, like, you know, haven't won for years, and it only helped them. So, you know, it's much more about making that connection, I think.
You don't have to tell me about teams that don't win very often. I support Exeter City, don't forget.
What's this?
You don't have to tell me about teams that don't win very often. I support Exeter City. Well, maybe this season, Everton, but there you go.
Well, you still follow them, so maybe they'd win more if they took the time to make more of a connection with the fans. That would be my advice to them.
Yeah. Speak to Dave.
Yeah.
With Matty Taylor. So August, you're the current OCW champion.
I am.
What are the main differences though between bigger promotions like Chaos Attack, Dragon Pro, and smaller companies like OCW?
I mean, there's the obvious financial difference. When you look at kind of when you're looking at it from a physical standpoint, and you look at like the venues and like where they might be. But at the same time, I've been taught, and I've kind of, part of my philosophy, I think, if I'm wrestling for one person or 100 people, does that mean I should put on any less of a show? You know, I think from my standpoint, and the answer is no, I don't think it should be. I think just
good to clarify that.
Just to clarify, just in case it wasn't, you know, the rhetoric wasn't put out there. But yeah, so from my standpoint, it's definitely, I try to look at them all as the same in that sense. I mean, if I went to a place and it was a biker crowd and everybody's around the ring in their bikes and their hogs, you know, maybe I'd play more to that crowd. And if it's a family show, then maybe I'd tone it down a little bit. But besides that, if we're looking at like the different levels of show, I'll always try and do my best. And if somebody goes to a hardcore show and I'm in a hardcore match, then I'll play to that. But I don't think with regard to kind of the size of the company, I would really change much. So from a physical standpoint, you've got like, you maybe have a different size crowd, you maybe have a different size venue. But I think from a wrestling standpoint, they're very, very similar. And I try to look at them all as the same. If I was I'd like to think that I'd put on the same show. Don't get me wrong. If I'm at WrestleMania one day, then I might take a few more risks in that big moment.
Yeah.
Then if I'm on a show mid-year that isn't on a global scale, I might not go for the triple sunset flip, you know, 450 off the top rope. I might not try that all the time. Yeah. But for the most part, I try and treat them the same, really.
But we went to one OCW show so far, haven't we?
We did, yes.
And we really enjoyed it because Chris used to have this annoying habit of booking OCW when there was things like Chaos on or something like that, you know, or UPW, you know, and that used to, because we always wanted to go to a show and we never got around to it. But what we found was that although there was a lot more local wrestlers, we really enjoyed it, and the actual standard of wrestling was really, really good.
It was just fun.
Yeah, they had a rumble there as well, didn't they?
I love that. Love a good rumble.
I think I jinxed myself as well on one of the shows because I think it was it the last show where I was injured? I was technically injured. Yeah. But I hurt my knee quite badly and I probably shouldn't have been wrestling.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
Yeah, and I tagged with Dave Eaton And
Yeah.
I actually watched that match back the other day, and I think he must have taken about 90% of the match. And there's points in the match I'm just like, I'm like looking at myself like, oh man, I feel so bad. Like,
Because your knee came right up with a massive lump on your knee, didn't you? It was like
it was
liquid, like
huge,
you're prodding it after meeting.
Yeah.
it was huge. Yeah, it was bigger than my actual knee. So, and I wrestled with it like that, and I was so worried about it like exploding in the ring. Like that's why I was so worried about, like coming down and just like just being like a bucket of blood everywhere. It was pretty massive. And but the time before that, I wrestled PJ, and he had been out on like a bender, and they probably use it as an excuse for losing. But he'd been out on a bender, and well, I was supposed to go on that bender as well, but I wasn't. I didn't go because I knew I'd feel so bad the next day. I knew it, so I didn't. And I remember bragging as I got there, like, I feel so good. I was like, I feel so fresh today. I was like, I really feel this good. And he just felt like death. And then of course the next show over, he actually felt quite good from what I remember. And I was just like, my knee is destroyed. And I just thought, karma.
That'll teach you, eh?
Never dig it in.
That knee injury for long, like for it to get to the point where like it was like the whatever it was so big.
It was that. Well, it was one.
It.
It was like a balloon. It was like a balloon next to my knee.
Did it come up quite quick?
It came up very, very, very quickly because I basically, we were in training and I'd gone for a crossbody, a move that I have done so many times, and maybe that plays into it. Maybe the fact that I'd done that move so many times, that the fact that I got a bit careless with it. But I just remember hitting the mat like really, really hard, and I didn't think much of it. And then I was stood outside, and my knee just felt like it was on fire, and it actually felt like someone was digging like a hot needle into my knee, and I was just like, why is this? Like, what is going on? And as I looked down and kind of pulled my knee pads down, it was just like wobbling like a balloon, and I remember pointing to somebody like, do you think I should stop? And they were just like, oh my God, like, so it came up very, very quickly. I still kind of had that injury going into lockdown, but then lockdown's like giving that a big chance to recover. Although there's still like, I think there's always going to be a bit of scar tissue underneath, because it's, when you have a scar and it kind of, you can't really feel in that patch, there's lots of sense of touch, just a little bit next to the knee. So I think, well, they said I kind of, it was like a hematoma, so I'd probably damaged something underneath the skin, and God knows. And yeah, it just bled everywhere. Because I'd asked them to drain it twice, but they didn't want to drain it because they said it could get infected. And they said, like, having an infection versus having this, we probably say you'd rather have this than the infection on top of this with a hole in it. So I was like, yeah, sounds logical.
I suppose really, if lockdown's done anything, I've spoken to a few wrestlers, they've all said the same, that they've actually never felt as well and fit and healthy as what they have done. All their aches and pains have gone away and that. So I suppose in that way, it's going to be a bit of a shock when they start taking bumps again, isn't it?
This is it. So when they say, I'm careful about saying that, see, because I've had karma about feeling great, like like I just said. But the thing is, when we go back to it properly, it's gonna be a bit of a shock to the system. So I wonder if that's going to affect many people's style, because I mean, like, I take quite a few bumps in my matches, but then it's nothing too crazy, I don't think. But I mean, some guys are maniacs, and then I think it's going to affect different people in different ways, because that first one back's always going to be brutal.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I suppose, I don't know if you've probably seen that video. The guy jumped off the middle rope in America and breaking both his legs.
Oh, actually, I don't. Is it recent?
Oh yeah, it's this week. But I mean, I suppose you can never tell when you're going to get an injury, can you? If you can just jump off and fall wrong or
land wrong. The simplest thing. Yeah.
It's always going to be the things. Like, I think it's like statistically with driving, like the most accidents happen where people are most used to driving because they're on autopilot. So like, if I'm going to go for something that I rarely go for, I'm going to be so like, right, I have to do this and not kill myself. Whereas if I do something like, oh, I
hopefully you'll come back.
do this in my sleep, Yeah, that
Yeah.
was it. You know, I don't know if you guys remember my kind of shine at the beginning of a match where I will I do a slide and I go into a hurricane runner like a head scissors.
Yeah.
And I kind of do it like a roundabout type deal. And I got so cocky one time. I was like, I don't even need to really tell you what I do. Just stand there and I'll just do it, and it ends with the head scissors.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay. I was like, cool. And I've got in there and I've kind of just done it and completely missed on the head scissors. They didn't know what was happening, and like just fell flat on my face, and
Oh
then
my
just got up
goodness.
and like carried on. And but like, yeah, it was just, and I thought to myself, like, I need to really stop jinxing myself, you know, because although there are things you can do easily and people can do easily, once you get to it, you get too, you know, you get too cocky or you get too confident, then mistakes can happen.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I've not seen that. I need to check out that clip of the guy breaking his leg.
It's
But,
Yeah,
pretty
it's
savage.
I only thought it was one leg at the time, to be frank, pointed out it was both legs, but
Jesus.
but I think there's a
Oh,
campaign
actually,
now. There's a campaign now to pay his medical bills, because America, you see, so they've got a.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, poor guy.
That's gonna make it even worse, though.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. You know, we're lucky in some cases because, guys, you break bones over there and you're in trouble. You know, you're in trouble.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to when shows are back on again. Have you
Mm.
got any big ideas or any big plans for when you're able to come back?
Well, as soon as possible, really. I did have a couple of there was a couple of things that were going to happen near the end of this year, but one of them got cancelled, and something else probably isn't going to happen now. And like local to where I am, there's been, like say in Bristol, there's been a lot of you know, news about COVID and what's going to be happening with that. So I'm just kind of playing it week by week. Like I've spoken to some of the other guys and what they're doing, but a lot of us are in different places, so people have access to different things. I mean, when I'm in the gym, I'm still prepping. You know, I'm still training towards getting back in the ring at any given time. With regards to like plans on something, I've got a few things in mind, but I haven't like actually quite nailed what I want yet. But there's a big idea I've got for when we come back, and I'm like really excited. I'm really excited about it. I don't want to say anything about it yet because it might not happen the way I want
You
it
don't
to.
want to jinx yourself again.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I've got like one or two like ideas of what some things I want to do, and I'm really, really, really excited about them because I think it can work. When I had the idea, Bronco, fun enough, actually was part of the spark for this idea. I'd spoken to him back and forth on Instagram the other month, and he'd said something to me, and I was just like, oh my god, why didn't I think of that? So yeah, I won't say any more, but yeah, in short, I do have some plans, but nothing specific at the minute. Just playing it by ear, and I think like some others, like we're so close to 2021 now that I'm not sure if anything substantial is going to happen before then, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it kind of got to be realistic, I suppose, in some ways.
It's just so hard to try and predict it.
It is.
I mean, it's like we've had a couple of shows. We had a show cancelled in Plymouth a few weeks ago, but then you see that Butlins have had a wrestling show on. There's shows up and down the country and other places as well, and you wonder why, why they can get away with it and we can't down this way.
Yeah, I think there are certain, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but there probably has to be certain investments and things. I know, like when it all kicked off and we still had televised wrestling coming in. NXT, AEW, and a lot of people were kind of saying about how are they allowed to do this. And I know that the level of money involved in that and the television contracts and what happens and what have you. It's there's things definitely above the pay grade of most that we don't know about. And I'd say that it probably comes down to money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It probably comes down to investments. It probably comes down to like things that are considered, not promises, but agreements have been made and put in place. And if certain things aren't crossed and checked, then certain things can't happen. And they do what they can. And I know there's some companies have been doing like a lot. They've been really, really, really good about the precautions they've made. But I don't know. You hear about some of these breakouts in the highest of places, and you kind of think, then you really can't. I think because wrestling is just, there is no more contact. If you've got somebody in a headlock, you don't really get any closer than that.
Yeah.
So,
Social distance matches.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Head scissors. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I expect somebody will try a social distance match one day. This is wrestling after all.
I wouldn't be
gonna happen.
surprised if that has already happened. I feel like it's happened. Oh, it has happened.
Yeah.
I think it happened, but on a podcast, and it was done from 2 different places. And it was kind of a
Right.
gimmick. I think Eddie Dennis was involved, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I think it was Chuck Mambo and Eddie Dennis did something, I think.
I think I remember seeing something on Twitter.
Yeah, I think I saw that on Twitter.
That doesn't surprise me. Chuck, he's quite innovative, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy to do that kind of thing.
He is actually. Yeah, you can imagine doing it, can you?
I'd be up for a social distance match.
Yeah.
Be,
no pain that way, is there either?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
and I guess.
Go on.
No, carry on. Sorry, Dave.
No, I was going to say, knowing some wrestlers, like they'll probably still bash themselves on the cupboard or something, or they can injure themselves.
Yeah. There's no less danger. It's probably more dangerous.
Yeah, it probably is actually. Yeah.
Falling down the stairs.
Yeah. But we've seen you in likes of OCW, Attack, Chaos, Southwest Wrestling, and Dragon Pro. Is there anywhere else you wrestled to that we haven't seen you at?
Yeah, well, I've there's a Full Force Wrestling. Have you seen much Full Force Wrestling?
No, I've heard of them. Where are they based?
So, like Midlands way.
Okay.
Full Force Wrestling and Iron Fist Wrestling are 2 places that I love wrestling.
I've heard of Iron Fist. Yeah.
Yeah, I love wrestling for those guys. Full Force Wrestling is awesome. It was devastating actually because they had their anniversary show this year, which I couldn't attend due to COVID. They ended up doing it closed, like a closed set, and filming it. But it was a real shame because that was going to be such a good show. I'm hoping that Joey Scott, when we all get back to running up properly, that we can kind of like make up for that show and do another one. But I mean, I don't know what he's got planned because I know he does have a show which you can check out. So yeah, everybody check out Full Force Wrestling and Iron Fist. So Full Force Wrestling, Iron Fist. I actually had a very brief run-in with Reach on their first ever show. I was in the Rumble. I was in the Rumble.
Yeah.
I was in the
That'd be
Rumble
nice to get you back there again one day.
Yeah, I'd love to go back to Reach.
I mean, they have got Unit 10 on, so...
Yeah, they got Unit 10 on. Bronco was at that show as well, wasn't he? There was Bronco was there. Yeah.
Yeah, they've had some good shows.
He's come on a long way as well, hasn't he? Since those days, and he's changed his gimmick at Reach. He sort of got over a lot better. And
Oh, big time. The Workhorse. He's someone I can't wait to like get back in the ring with. He's someone I really want to wrestle again when we get back to it. Like, because I love Bronco.
So, are there any other?
We're frenemies.
Are there any other promotions in the country you'd like to go and wrestle for?
Yeah, I mean, like pretty much all of them. anywhere that have me, but like specific places. I'd love to get involved with Rev Pro at some point. There was a couple of times I meant to go along, and just for whatever reason haven't. But Rev Pro, some of that they are like seem to be doing so much good stuff at the moment. And some of their closed set shows are really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Like really good. So there's a lot of good things coming from Rev Pro. So
I reckon that if you got the opportunity, you could probably fit in quite well with their like contenders division, is it?
I'd love to get in there.
Like that would be a good sort of like foot in the door, wouldn't it? And I think you'd do well.
Yeah. I'd love to work with Rev Pro. They're really good. And of course, there's a few others up and down, but again, it's like anywhere really. I think like because it seems to be some wrestlers. I think we mentioned this the other day when we did the quiz, but some wrestlers are able to kind of like bridge that divide and go from north to south. But for a lot of guys, it's quite difficult sometimes to break that barrier. And I'd like to like try and get up as far north as possible and as far kind of east as possible, and just like get around as much as I can, and just get the feel for different places. So yeah, it sounds like a cheap answer, but like anywhere really. I'm happy to wrestle just anywhere. But if I had to pick one, I'd like to try and do something with Rev Pro at some point in the future. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So going back to Southwest Wrestling, a while back we saw you have a great match with David Eaton for the Brit Pro Cup.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
We feel like that style
Thank
of
you.
match really suited you. So would you
Thank
challenge
you.
the current holder, James Mason, for a shot at the
Oh,
cup in
yeah.
the future?
I'd love to wrestle James.
He's a legend, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, I've had the pleasure of being in the ring with him once or twice at one of his All-Star shows. Yeah, James Mason's an absolute legend. I would love to. I think he completely like outclassed me, but it wouldn't matter because like I like to play the underdog, as we know, and I'm sure it would be a massive learning experience as well. You know, it wouldn't be even if I got in there and just completely lost flat. I think that would be amazing. Like, but I wouldn't go in there with that. I wouldn't go in there with that mentality. I'd go in there with that. You know, I want to get that cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks, man. That was like one of my favorite matches I've ever had against Dave.
Because I remember I remember talking to you about it after the show, and you were really enthusing about it. You know.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And do you know what? Like one thing that I love that no one's ever mentioned about that match is at that show we had really funny lights, and it was almost like we were the Fiend, but red, green, blue, and it was like the whole match we'd had like funny lights, and I was worried. I sent the match to a friend, and the first thing he said, like he's like, "Oh, it's taken me a while to get into this because of the lights," because he'd noticed it instantly on the video, but nobody mentioned it to me. And to be fair, like even when we were wrestling, we didn't really notice it ourselves because we were in the zone. So the fact that nobody's ever brought that up as a negative in the match, I love that because I like to think that the match kind of held its own.
It did. Oh, definitely fantastic match.
Yeah,
I remember as well. I was just really like engrossed in it. Like I don't remember like noticing anything about the lights, but I remember just being so engrossed in it, and then sort of like towards the end just being like, hang on a minute, aren't they going to be getting close to the time limit? Not that I minded, but it was just like, oh, it was really good.
I remember because it was go on, I'll just after you.
Well, I was just going to say, because I think Dave said that about like, oh, do you guys realise how close you were? And I was just like, how long did we go? And didn't even know. Didn't even
That was
realise.
29.5 minutes, wasn't it, in the end?
Yeah.
But what I liked about that match, there was a move, I can't remember, there was a move when it was a kick out, I think it was, and Kurt said, I've never seen that before, and it was like a proper old school British move.
Was it I kicked out of a move and Dave pulled me up using the momentum of the kick out into a suplex position, and I think from there he tried to suplex me, but I countered it.
There was a couple moves, but this is
schoolboy,
yeah, but the thing with Brit Cup is like proper old British wrestling, isn't it? You know,
I love that style, and that's something that I think is definitely like what I want to work on more, because I know for a fact, like I'm nowhere near like someone like James Mason being like at like his level. That's somewhere I'd like to work towards over time. I don't consider myself anywhere near that, but like, I love it, and like being able to do that kind of thing it's timeless, and it's I don't know how to say it like without sounding like I'm wimping out. Like it's less damage on the body, in the long term. I mean, don't get me wrong. If someone gets you in a wrist lock, they can snap your wrist. It can really, really hurt. But at the same time, having a match like that, you can have a nice 20-30 minute match, like an epic match, and not be going home with a black eye. And it's good. Yeah. It's good. I love it.
But that's what I like about Southwest Wrestling. They offer you something different, don't they? That sort of thing. I mean, I think it helps having Pete in charge, who's used to be a proper old school British wrestler, didn't he, back in the day?
Yeah.
And he sort of respects all the old traditions and what have you, didn't he? And what's Pete like to work with?
Oh, he's awesome. I love Pete. He's great. Yeah, I've never had a bad experience with him. He's a really nice guy, and that's one of the things that I when I first worked with Southwest, it's really like fun. Like it's really like you don't feel like, I mean, we have to be professionals and we are getting paid, but you don't feel like it's this is not a work at all. And I mean, when you're wrestling and you love wrestling, it's never really work. But there are some places that are stricter than others, and I've worked in a few places where you got to kind of there are certain things you need to kind of adhere to. And I'm not saying it's not like that in Southwest. Everybody, you can't just do what you want, but it's fun, and we've got a lot of freedom to be creative, and if there's something that we need to achieve, and if we've been given something to do, then we can do it. But at the same time, I've been able to have some of my most memorable matches there, and my most fun matches there as well. And Dave Eaton was definitely one of my favourite matches, and one that I'd wanted in that kind of setting for a long time. So that was like a little kind of goal getting ticked off over that match.
Because David Eaton's a really good wrestler as well, isn't he?
Oh, he's amazing.
And I felt that you guys had really good chemistry in the ring as well, which just added to it.
Yeah, well, I've trained a lot with Dave as well, and Dave is he's like, everyone who knows Dave and seen Dave knows how good he is, but he's still so underrated. And like I've seen him have some like really sick matches with people who are like in WWE now. He's had matches going back that I just remember that hadn't even been recorded, and that's why I tried to like get as much footage of my own matches as possible, because a lot of guys will not record the footage and they will not watch themselves back. And I know a lot. It's sometimes like when you hear your own voice, you don't always like it, and it can be quite awkward sometimes. And like there's matches I've got where I'm just like, oh my god, we need to delete this footage. but at the same time, it's so good. And maybe I sometimes feel Dave doesn't know how good he is. Actually, that's the thing. I sometimes think that he doesn't realize how great he is, and he's got a very particular kind of style. And
he seems quite a modest guy. He's always seemed quite quiet. He's not too in your face, is he? He's not too mouthy or whatever. He just seems like very respectful and quiet.
Very, very, very much so. Yeah, he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He's lovely chap. He's very good. He's very good, Dave. Very good wrestler.
So going back to that Brit Pro match, Brit Cup match, David. How much of it did you do off the cuff? Like, I'm not into this all knowing everything about wrestling, but just nice to know how much of it you got told you had to do, and how much you just planned when you once got in the ring.
So this is kind of an interesting thing, actually, because that is a long match, and I think based on what we'd kind of talked about and what we planned, what we talked about and planned theoretically could have been condensed into a quarter of the size. So we had kind of tent poles, if you will, to things that we needed to get to and go from. And there are things that we know where we've wrestled in the past. There are things that we know that we do, and there are little things like Dave can run one of my spots with the roundabout slip slide into the head scissors. He can run that sometimes better than I can, but it's mine, so he's not going to do that. But he might do that. But he can. So there's things he knows about things I do, and vice versa. But he probably knows me better than I know him in the ring. But there wasn't as much as you think. So I'd probably say at most half of that was kind of we talked about, and at least probably about 30%. And there was just things that we'd put in the middle that we kind of worked to and kind of. But that was a funny one, because that was a funny weekend, because I'd had two matches that weekend that were both very long matches. So I think I'd wrestled more in that one weekend than I'd wrestled the prior 2 or 3 weeks if you combined all the ring time.
Who was the other one with? So
that was one of the Dragon Pro shows we do, which is we called it In Our House. No, yes, In Our House, as in your house, but in our house, because it's like the Dragon Pro kind of closed. It was kind of one for other wrestlers, and we had, I think, we had promoters come in for some of them as well. So we had some of the Chaos guys actually come in on the first one we ever did, and that was wrestling against CJ Tumber, who's pretty good, and we had a really good match. And I keep forgetting to actually try and find the footage of that match. So that's one of the matches I just remember that I actually haven't watched back. But yeah, we had a pretty long match as well. I can't even remember who won. It must have been me. No, I don't think it was.
Must have been.
I don't think it was.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't you, to be honest. But you mentioned Dragon Pro. Did you train with Dragon Pro to start with when you were starting off? Yeah, that's where you started.
Oh, no. No, I joined Dragon Pro, I think about 2 years ago now.
All right.
I think roughly now. But no, I've been wrestling for a little while before that. I did wrestle also with Evolution up in Gloucester.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, so I trained with them for a while. That was where I trained with Dave Eaton, mostly, and Joshua Goodwin, who was part of the Heritage City Hitmen at the time. So I trained a lot with those two, and of course, Kid Candy up there, Liam, and everyone. Like, you know, I trained with them for a little while. That was fun. But I think like when I got to Dragon Pro, it was kind of like I felt like I was in the right place. You know, sometimes when you do something, you think like, I kind of, this is where I want to be for the moment, you know. And getting to train with all the guys at Dragon Pro is just it's also like you see in like the videos we post and stuff on Instagram. It's like it very much is like a family. Dragon Pro, it feels like a family, and I mean, we all love.
We've been to a few Dragon Pro shows now.
Yeah.
The first match we saw, we went to, we had Giselle against
It
Ricky
was
Shane
Giselle
Page.
versus Ricky Shane
Yeah,
Page. That was the
first match we ever saw. When you start at that high quality, you're just going to get dragged down it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Dragon Pro shows, man. Was that at the Neon as well, presumably?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neon,
I love that venue. It's my
That's a
favourite.
fantastic venue. Yeah.
That is like one of the best venues, isn't it?
You walk and you see the lights all around, don't you? And
yeah,
it looks special, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it definitely does. It's a great venue. Yeah, I love the Neon. Yeah, again.
We always say that the Dragon Pro Training Academy is probably second to none.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is it. I can't imagine having a better training. I mean, there's definitely other schools around the country that are very, very good. But Dragon Pro, man, it's awesome. You got, you know, Bob Bohr, Mark Andrews, you know, to name a few, Flash, Danny Jones in there as well. It's you've got a wealth of experience, and you've got different types of styles and things that we can learn. You know, we've had people in. You know, we had Pete Dunne come in and train with us once before. So you know, anyone who was ever looking to get into training for wrestling, Dragon Pro is something I'd recommend immensely. You know, and it's not something. The thing about Dragon Pro as well is that they are very much about making you better in every way.
Yeah.
So they're not just gonna blow smoke up your ass, which is like because I when I'm training, if I do something wrong, I really don't. It doesn't, you know. If there's something that you do and you frequently do that thing and nobody tells you you're doing that little thing, then you're just gonna keep doing it and it's gonna get better than you. So they will highlight things that you'll never pick up by yourself. Like any good trainer would, you know, and they tell you about it as well. And I think I've improved a lot since training with them. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, like I say, from the first time we've seen you, I think we've seen you improve as well in the last 2, 3, whatever years it is. We've been going regular.
I think you've probably you knew August before I did, because you
Probably,
chatted to him at a show.
Yeah, I probably chatted to him at Attack because I've been going shows a bit longer than you might, but you know, a little bit. But yeah.
No, I just remember you were talking to him after Dragon Pro show, and I was just stood there being shy.
Yeah, well, that was Jason. Yeah. Too busy looking to see if you could throw to the Butte Bronco, I expect, weren't you?
Probs, yeah.
But yeah, so so no, we do like. I mean, it's testament to the likes of Southwest Wrestling, Dragon Pro that we'll drive for 2 hours to see a show. A person will finish work at 4, and we'll get up there for 6. We'll put our foot down, bomb it down the motorway, just so we don't get no.
Show up in my work uniform.
Yeah, shows up in a work uniform once she did as well. Yeah, but yeah, no, that's a testament to like those sort of promotions that we want to go that far, isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah, and it does, you know, because that's the thing. I think some people don't realize how good wrestling they've got on their doorstep. You know, I think there's probably a lot of people that think, oh, the only place, you know, I'm going to get wrestling at this level is if I travel to America, or, you know, if I watch it on television. But there is so much good wrestling, like right on the doorstep, like, you know, and yeah, it's everywhere. So
I mean, I know people that will go to NXT in Plymouth, or they'll go to Progress, and that'll be it. But that's their choice. That's what they like. But if they was to broaden their horizons a bit and expand their minds, they'd see some fantastic wrestling in South Wales.
I just think 100%. A lot of people don't always realise what is right there. Like,
yeah, Well, this
That's
is
what
it
it was
because
for
a lot of
me.
the people they'll be watching at those shows would have been coming up through the other shows that they're not looking at. So
Gotta start
you will
somewhere.
get, yeah, and
It's like a
you know,
really
you'll
weird
get,
like grapevine. You hear about all these other promotions and all these other
Yeah,
shows, all these other
yeah.
wrestlers, and it all sort of comes together.
and that's kind of sometimes becomes part of the appeal in some of these places as well. It's like, oh, have you seen so and so? It's like, oh, I've not heard of him. Like, oh, mate, you know, go and check him out because you can only kind of see him just there, you know, or her, you know, go check them out. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know. Now, as you know, I'm looking on a bit in years, but I do like to keep up with the trends of social media and all that. So I want to ask you one last question: Is
Okay.
Brit Rest dead?
Hell no.
I was hoping you'd
You
say
couldn't.
that.
You couldn't kill Brit Rest if you wanted to.
Oh, I agree.
No, no way, no way. As long as the word is there to be said, it is alive. You know. Yeah,
But I
Brit Rest
think,
is alive, true.
yeah, I think there's always a certain percentage on social media that be negative, isn't there? That's the thing. You
Oh,
know,
mate,
fan-wise,
yeah.
you know.
This is it. You know, it's so easy to be negative. You know, it's so easy, and it does nothing for anybody. It's like basically when I hear people saying things like that, I hear what they're saying is, "Oh, I want it to be dead," you know, and it's just like, no, why do you really want that? And it's kind of like that. I always think of that line from, you guys have seen Batman, the Christopher Nolan Batmans, one with the Joker, Heath, and he says, Alfred says to Bruce, and he's like, "Oh, some people in the world just want to watch the world burn," you know.
Yeah.
And it's that, like, people just want to troll, and people just want to, and it's funny trolling, you know, but then there's just negative, just whatever, you know. And I think, yeah, it's just pointless, really. But you know, people like to vent.
Well, there's no matter how dark it gets, there's always people like you shining through the always. That's the thing. Yeah.
I try. I do my best.
With a smile like that, you know, how can anybody be miserable, eh? You know, brilliant.
It's just wasted energy. It's wasted energy.
Yeah,
you know, I always say, I don't always say, I stole it from someone many times ago, but you know, my haters are my motivators, you know, like it's, and I think, like, again, this is a bit of a cliche, it's an old one, but when these people are negative online, when people like do these and say these things, they say so much more about themselves than they do anything else, and it's so obvious, you know, it's so obvious. It's like whatever, man.
Yeah, that's smashing.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to chat to us.
Yeah, thank you.
That was amazing.
Thank you for checking out our chat with August Jackson. It's been a while. It's been a longer hiatus than planned, but 2020 has been a bit of a weird year. But I'm happy to say that we're back putting out some content, even while we're not sure when shows will be back on. So massive thanks to August for joining us and just having a chat with us. We're hoping that this will be at least a semi-regular thing, especially while there aren't any shows. So if there's anyone else that you'd like us to get together and chat with, just let us know. Tweet us, slide into our DMs, whatever, and we'll see if we can make it happen. And we'll speak to you guys again real soon.